Hello, back in better quality. Still gonna be unedited though, because I'm lazy as fuck. Today's review is on Bookish Boyfriends. Can we see it? Can we see it? I'm just gonna leave it right here. Sorry for the text messages. Bookish Boyfriends, A Date with Darcy by Tiffany Schmidt. I got this from the library as an audiobook, and I've kind of had it on my shelf since like early Feb, maybe even January, and got around to reading it like 3 days ago. And it was surprisingly good. It is a Pride and Prejudice retelling, as you can tell from the title, but the main character mistakes it as a Romeo and Juliet retelling of her own life, which is just like a whole thing. But let me actually get into the summary of this book. So, our main character, Marilee Campbell, is a really big, like, young adult romance reader. And finds that like men in real life are very lackluster until she, her best friend, and her younger sister end up going to Hero Prep High or Hero Academy, where all the boys are super hot and super broody and are like just waiting to have a meet cute with her. So she's living up her dreams. And then this guy named Monroe sweeps her off her feet. He's the broody guy that she sees, and she runs into him at her sister's kind of like engagement party, and she's like, okay, he's my Romeo, I'm the Juliet, this is our fucking love story, let's go. And as she's going through her courses and starts to read different classic romance novels, she starts to realize that maybe like her first impression of that instance was a little too like yikes. And Romeo and Juliet is not necessarily a love story, and, you know, things start to change, new developments start to happen, and she starts to see the patterns in her life that are more Pride and Prejudice-esque than Romeo and Juliet-esque. So this, like, kind of has that, like, whatchamacallit, like that, like, little touch of magic in there, where like you've got like a mentor character who kind of guides you through it. What's the movie with Zac Efron where he 17 again? That one where like you go back in time, but this one's not like a back in time kind of thing. She just has a mentor character who's like, here, read Pride and Prejudice and think about your life as you read Pride and Prejudice. And Mary's like, at first she's like super weirded out, and then as the story goes on she's like, maybe there's something to this. So I didn't even realize how closely tied to Pride and Prejudice this would be. I got the book because Darcy was in the title. Surprisingly, I haven't read Pride and Prejudice. Just like, don't judge me. I think Jane Austen is super dry, but that's beside the point. I still appreciate the story. Anyways, I got the book because it said Darcy in the title. And I started reading it, and like Mary's like the narrator voice and just the way this like 15-year-old girl just talks, I was like, oh my god, she's just like aggressively white. But I got used to it, and also like the more patterns started popping up that aligned with Pride and Prejudice, the more I was like getting into the story, and it's actually really closely aligned. But one thing that I really liked that the author did was she had like split off characters. Instead of having one person who was Charlotte and one person who was like Aunt, what's her face, Darcy's aunt. Like there's like a couple of different characters who fall into that category, and that's really well done. Plus, it allows for those second and third books within this series to fall into place. So the first one is Pride and Prejudice. The second one, I don't remember the title, but the second one is Little Women. And the third one is Anne of Green Gables and Frankenstein combined, if I'm not wrong. Haven't read those. I saw the summaries and I was like, this might be up my alley. And like those like the separated characters and the piecewise way that she's created the collective of Pride and Prejudice and Jane Austen's cast of characters also allows her to bleed into these other stories, which was, I think, kind of a genius move. So the whole trilogy was planned out before she even got to the second and third books, which is, I think, a kind of forethought, especially in retellings, that is necessary, Because the plot's already done for you. It's just going to be how are you going to change things around to fit your own author's voice. Excellent thing to do. So the characters obviously grow on you. I forget what Darcy's name is. It's like Fleming or something like that. Faring. What is his name? She calls him by his last name, and he's like very clearly the angsty guy who's like judgy as shit, and he's just not having her nonsense. But the instances where they interact is so like, he's so awkwardly broody and judgy, and it's like, bro, if you just kind of had an open mind, this would work out. His, like, the whole declaration where Darcy kind of admits to Elizabeth that, like, he's in love with her despite the fact that she's a wreck. And she's like, bro, fuck you, was so spot on. The takedown is the best moment by far in this book. Absolutely epic. Also, Wickham is so characteristically slimy. The character's name is Monroe, but, like, in this book is like his pronounced need for love bombing. Like, it's very clear that he's on track to being a little bit of an abusive character, with the whole, like, the love bombing, the mood swings, the excessive public gestures that force Mary to, like, be in the spotlight and react a certain way that doesn't make her look bad is, like, textbook narcissism. And it's actually kind of geniusly done, and she slams him hard. Her, like, shut up, leave me alone was, like, essentially, my opinion of the main character changed because she was able to stand up for herself and be like, that's not how I'm gonna be treated. Fuck you, fuck your mom, fuck your dad, I wanna do what I want. Which is, like, I know it's a young adult book, obviously she's not swearing left and right, but the vibe in the, like, immaculate. And, like, she also starts to get that Pride and Prejudice kind of, like, her pride in her own family and her own identity, and, like, her judgment of others starts to also melt away over the course of the book as well, after she realizes that, like, oh, I completely misjudged my first boyfriend. Maybe I shouldn't be that presumptive of what's happening. And it's frankly really epic, and I enjoyed it so much. A couple of things that were, like, a little bit awkward were the dialogue. It's a little kitschy, and some of the detailings were like, why do I need to know that? Plus the final conflict, like the end part where Wickham essentially, like, ends up courting Mary. We're talking about Pride and Prejudice, where Wickham ends up, not Mary, what's her younger sister's name? Shit. Anyways, Wickham ends up dating the younger sister and, like, marries her because he ruins her reputation, is what happens. It kind of, like, it doesn't hit that level of intense, which I kind of appreciate because these characters are, like, 13 and 15 years old. So it makes sense that it's not going to be as darkly intense, but it fell flat, in my opinion, because what Darcy does in the books is, like, this grand gesture of selflessness, but in this book, Mary's the one who deals with the whole situation. Like, she's the one who takes charge and resolves the issue with her sister, and, like, has her sister's back, which I think also was kind of genius, because it's this relationship between sisters that's kind of fraught, because they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, opposite personalities, they don't get along because, like, one's not listening to the other, one's a little judgmental of the other, but this moment where oh my god, the light's changing, whatever. This moment where, like, Mary stands up for her sister Rory, this very public declaration of, like, you don't talk to my sister that way. She can stand up for herself, but, like, excuse you, step off. Like, she's not your revenge toy. And that was classic. Plus the comeback to the principal, who happens to be Darcy, the Darcy character's dad. Ooh, that's what I'm talking about. I think I've spoiled the whole book for you guys, but also this is Pride and Prejudice, so if you don't know the plot of Pride and Prejudice, I think that's a you problem. I've given you more or less the general gist and my emotions attached to the story, right? I'm trying to review what I just said. Yeah, I haven't told you exactly how it plays out, told you how I felt about how it played out. What I did forget to tell you is my star rating, which is 3.5 stars out of 5. Again, it felt like a little childish, but also it was really well done, and I kind of thoroughly enjoyed it. So it's like closer to a 4, but also like, it's not a 4-star book. It's like a 3.5-star book. Definitely recommend you read it. It's like these like YA and adult romance books are really getting me through quarantine. So if you want to like check these out as audiobooks and ebooks from your local library, you don't have to leave the house. Just get them. And like some of these like less popular books have so much heart in them that I really enjoy them. Yeah. Again, I'm like losing my touch here, but whatever. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you whenever I do another one, I guess. Bye!